Greetings. Today I shall be making a Chaos Champion of the Slaanesh corrupted Emperor's Children Legion. As a base for this model, I'm using the Lord of Pain from the Age of Sigmar. Looking over the datasheet for an Exalted Champion, the two-handed mace he is carrying would make for a good Thunderhammer. His general size looks about right for a Space Marine, and his outfit I feel would work well with the Emperor's Children, with only a few tweaks here and there. We will first need the body and the right leg from the Lord of Pain, as that is going to be the starting point for everything else. I carefully remove these from the sprue with my clippers, before taking my knife, or a file if you have one, and cleaning up any sprue tabs or mould lines. You could also do this with the fancy mould line remover, which I do not have. Back of the knife works fine for me. To make this guy seem less of a time travel misfit, I wanted to give him some power armoured legs. For these, I have an intercessor. This one is from a Monopose single part kit, but virtually any power armoured legs you have lying around would work. To begin with, I measured roughly where the legs would need to come off before taking my sword to the plastic. I had to cut in from both the back and the front of the leg here, as I wanted to keep the knee pad intact, and it's important to really make sure the cuts are right here, as you could end up with some very strange looking poses and quite hacked legs. With the legs sawed off from the Marine's body, I could look to that of the Lord of Pain. Again, I measured up the part I had for the lower leg against where I needed to cut before I took my saw to the upper part of the leg. In this case, I had to make sure the cut on the leg was just a little bit longer than what I needed it to be, so I had the space to trim it with my knife when it comes to time to join them together. With both legs removed and both replacements readied, I could clean these up with my knife and make any last minute trims that are needed so the parts fit as close to flush as possible. Any small gaps here can be filled with green stuff later, but it's nice when you don't have to. Taking some plastic glue to join, and they can now be attached, and the right leg could be glued into place on the body. If you wanted to here, you could cut off the broken statue of that old left leg was rested on to attach to the model, but I had a piece of corkboard in mind to use as a rock, so I saved it for future use in my bits box. Once you're done with the legs, we can take the big old belt piece from the Lord of Pain kit, clean it up, and stick it to his waist with some plastic glue. Before I can fit the arms and weapon in place, I do need to do a couple of things. First up will be finding the shoulder pad to go on his right arm. The one with the Lord of Pain, whilst very Slaanesh orientated, does not fit too well with a corrupted Space Marine aesthetic, I thought. So I decided to take one from the Chaos Space Marines kit. As you can see, it doesn't fit too badly here, but the remnant of the original shoulder pad would need to be removed from the shoulder area to get a nicer fit. I did this with my clippers, before tidying the area up with my knife. Happy with how this fits, I decided I'd glue it on after I'd done some other things, as the positioning of the backpack and the head would dictate the angle of the shoulder, and if any further adjustments would need to be made. The backpack itself I took again from the Chaos Space Marines kit, and it was actually a fairly good fit to the model as it was. However, there were a couple of little nubs on the back of the Lord of Pain that would need to come off for the pack to sit flush. These could be removed with a knife before bringing the plastic glue to attach that pack. And now it's time for the arms. A drop of plastic glue, and then they could be brought onto the model in position with no real adjustment needed. Once this is glued on, I suggest leaving it for a few minutes for the glue to set, or with the handling in the next steps, you may have to reattach a few things again. Good time for a cup of tea here, I think. Next up, it was time to give this guy a head. I had a few to choose from left over from various kits. The Hellstrider kit is a very good source of mutated heads that would work quite well with a corrupted Chaos Champion, but in the end I decided to stick with one from the Chaos Space Marines kit, taking one without a full helmet. This head I felt added to the semi-armoured look of the model and really helped tie everything together. Before it could be attached, however, it would need the neck trimming down. This could be done with clippers before moving it with my knife for the fine trimming, though a file would work just as well here for this. The neck needed to be cut at a slight angle with a small amount of the neck near the front to fill the gap on the body where the original head went. Once this is done, I test fitted and found that the neck on the body would also need a slight trim, as it had a raised edge around which it would need to go. This I did quickly with clippers. Once this stage is done, plastic glue can be added to join his head to his body, and this fella is nearly there. Now to the shoulder. I was happy with the fit of my shoulder, so a drop of glue and I could add it to the model. If you feel that you've got any gaps, those can be filled in with a bit of green stuff. However, mine fitted pretty well. At this point, I thought I was done, so I moved on to the base. This was erroneous, as I had forgotten to cover the dent in his chest by his original shoulder pad, but I will realise this soon enough. To make my base, I took a small piece of cork floor tile and broke it up to fit the size I wanted. A slight trim to one side gave it a nice slant, like a piece of rock jutting up from the ground, and with some super glue, it could be attached to the base. Once this is stuck down, more super glue can be added to the feet, and the champion can be stuck to his base before covering the rest with some basic materials. Now it is at this point that I realised my error earlier, so, taking the original shoulder pad, I carefully snipped off the circular Slaanesh symbol from it with my clippers. Once removed, the shoulder can be saved for later, and the chest bit can be cleaned up with a knife around the edges, before being added to this model. At this point I also took a bolt pistol and a holster from a tactical marine kit, and glued this to his right leg where the original model would have had a dagger. This not only covers up that area, but it also gives him something to shoot with on the tabletop. Once painted up in an approximate Empress Children colour scheme, this guy is finished and ready to do some serious melee carnage with that thunder hammer. Now if you wanted to go with a more traditional hammer look, you could snip off the head of this weapon and pin in something more hammery, but I felt the spiked club had the right kind of aesthetic for what I wanted. And with that, I'd like to say a big thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this kit bash. If you did, consider a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.